one, it says f plus g of x. That is the same thing as saying you have f of x plus g of x. So all you're going to do is you're going to take what f of x is equal to, which is 2x minus 1. So you copy it down, and you're going to add it to what g of x is equal to, which is x squared. So all you have to do is physically copy down the two functions and put a plus sign in the middle. So is there any other term that is like 2x? So does it have a like term anywhere? No. Is there any other number by itself? No. Are there any other x squared terms? No. So that means we cannot combine like terms. So that means that problem is done. So we can box it. We're done. If there were like terms, then you'd have to combine them. So like terms mean they have the same variable, so same letter, and the same power on that letter. And then they probably don't need it anymore, but just in case, I have Jamie's binder. So you can give it to Destiny or Savannah. All right, so same thing for f minus g of x. So that is the same as saying I have f of x minus g of x. So same thing. Instead of writing f of x, you're going to write what it's equal to, which is 2x minus 1. And you're subtracting what g of x is equal to. And here is why I would recommend putting it in parentheses. So I'm going to put x squared in parentheses. And the reason is when you have more than one term, like x squared is one term, if you had x squared plus 1 or x minus 5, which would be two terms, if you don't distribute, you'll get the wrong answer. So this is a minus. What number can I write here that's not going to change anything? It's going to be a 1. So that's technically like having a negative 1. So subtraction is like having a negative 1 out front. So in order to finish this problem, we would distribute, meaning multiply that negative 1 to x squared. So negative 1 times x squared is what? Negative x squared. So this is 2x minus 1 minus x squared. So then same thing. You ask yourself, are there any like terms? So is there anything I can combine together? No, so we're done. If there were, you'd have to combine like terms. But in this case, there's not, so we're happy because we're done. So please, 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 when you subtract, make sure you put the second thing, which is what's being subtracted, in parentheses, so that you are sure to distribute the negative 1 to everything in the parentheses. Once you distribute in the negative 1, the parentheses go away. So the next one is f g of x. So what operation is it if I don't put a sign there? Multiplication. So this is f of x times g of x. So we are going to multiply. And with multiplication, I almost always use parentheses. So it's 2x minus 1. And then you're multiplying x squared. Now here's where you have a choice. So last period I said FOIL, and everybody looked at me like I had lost my mind. So if you are used to doing this, meaning you're going to multiply that in, that's the distributive property. We also call it FOIL. If that doesn't look familiar, you probably did a box. So would you rather see me do it with the distributive property, which is called FOIL, or do you want me to draw a box? All right, so raise your hand if you want a box. So then the rest of you want FOIL. Okay, so for those of you that like box, I'll draw the box on the board for you. So it's x squared and then 2x negative 1. So your answers are going to be the same. I think the box is just a nicer way to organize for some people. But when I was in school, there was no box. It was just you FOILed. And so I usually do that, but I'll do whatever you guys like. So whatever you guys vote on, I'll do. So we're going to multiply x squared by 2x. So what's the power, bless you, on this x? So what's the power if I don't write it? It's a 1. So we have 2x to the first power times x to the second. So what does that multiply out to? 2x to the third. So if you're multiplying two things with the same base, meaning they're both x's, you add them. And then the next one is x squared times negative 1, which should be easier, right? That's just negative x squared. So when you have addition and subtraction, that's considered combining like terms. And you can only combine them if this power and this power are the same, which they're not, so we're done. So we will stop. So you have to separate your rules for exponents with rules for combining like terms because they're not the same thing. Okay, so combining like terms is what you actually learn first, like how 2x plus 3x is 5x. 2x squared plus 3x squared is 5x squared. Okay, so we're going to move on to division. So it's f divided by g of x. That's like having f of x divided by g of x. So f of x is still 2x minus 1. And it's going to be divided by what? X squared. So for now, honestly, stop there. Eventually, we're going to remind ourselves how we factor things out, and then we could cancel. But for now, we're just going to leave that as unsimplified. We're just going to leave it alone.